Hi everyone. Today I'm at St James's, a lovely little church on the Welsh-English border, fairly near to Hereford, where I've just visited the cathedral. In 2020, the church was declared redundant. Luckily, the charity Friendless Churches took ownership of it. The building was in a very bad state, the whole roof was decayed and very dangerous. After about 13 months of hard work, the building was saved, at a cost of over £500,000. The church was reopened for the public earlier this year. Unfortunately, about a month ago, we had very bad storms here in Wales. We've had so much rain, and as the church sits right next to a river, it burst its banks and flooded the church. The watermark on the walls is about 1 foot high. The church had to be cleaned professionally through an insurance company. The day I visited, there was a lovely lady here called Anne, a local who was just finishing up on cleaning the aftermath and preparing the building for Christmas. So a massive shout out to Anne. We need more people like her. Inside the church, I found a leaflet, so I've decided to read some of that out to you as you watch the footage. It explains that the church already had a deep connection to the charity way before 2020. St James's Church, as it stands today, originated in the years after the Norman Conquest. The land was granted to Lyre Abbey, a foundation of the Benedictine order in Normandy, and the order established a small monastic cell to house a handful of monks. The architectural remains, including the 12th century tub font, tell us that this early church was a small stone building constructed using local materials. Some small windows cut high into the walls created a dimly lit, atmospheric interior. During our repairs in 2024 to 25, the project archaeologists discovered two principal rafters of a 12th century Romanesque roof truss that had been reused as a timber wall plate on the east gable of the chancel. In his words, a truly remarkable survival. In about 1500, the church was dramatically altered with new roofs and windows and became a parish church. This medieval reconfiguration gives the church the character it has today, the most dominating feature of which are the 30 oak trusses which form the wagon roof. Intersecting oak ribs form the ceiling panels, which were then plastered to create a vault, meaning these impressive trusses are completely hidden. Our research has found that the oak used for the roof was well managed and fast grown. In the nave, several of the wall plates are single lengths 13 metres long. With the roof stripped bare, we could record the carpenter's marks on the trusses. Three different types of marks were identified: a race knife cut, forming a neat hollow scrape, a scribe, forming a scraped rough mark, and a chisel, forming punched or cut indentations. The three distinct marks suggest the trusses were made by three different carpenters. Before we began our repairs in 2024, the only clue that St James's might have had a rood screen was the rebate in the south nave wall, where you will find a statue of St James, which may have given access to the rood loft. For the next 300 years, it seems like little happened at the church in Lingua. New windows were inserted into the south nave wall, and at some point the roof covering changed from thatch to sandstone tiles. In 1889, St James's was restored by Thomas Nicholson of Hereford, who put new windows in the north nave wall and added a vestry. From newspaper records, we know that, as part of Mr Nicholson's restoration, the plaster was scraped from the walls to create a bare stone interior. Sadly, by the 1950s, the church was derelict, sagging under the weight of the roof, letting in water, overgrown and vandalised. In 1954, it was visited by a man from Cumbran in Monmouthshire called Ivor Bulmer Thomas. This is where the story of the charity, the Friends of Friendless Churches, begins. Ivor was then 49, but when he was in his early 30s, his wife, Dilys, died shortly after giving birth to their first child. We will never know what it was about this little tumble-down church with its lopsided bellcot that moved him, but we can be forever grateful. In Dillis's memory, Ivor restored the building, he hacked back the brambles, cleared the debris, and repaired the medieval roof timbers. He mounted a black plaque with gold letters on the north wall. When you push open the door, it's the first thing you see. It records in Latin that this is the church that was restored in the memory of Dillis Thomas. Following Ivor's heroic work, St James was fully restored. Less than 3 years after this restoration, Ivor founded the Friends of Friendless Churches. Ivor knew the power of church buildings, that even if they weren't used or needed for regular worship, they were still potent places that were architecturally, historically, culturally important. This was especially true in the wake of the World Wars. At a time when places of worship were being demolished, abandoned, or just neglected, Ivor was often their only defender. Through his tireless work, he effected changes in the laws regarding closed churches in England and the formation of the new mechanism in Wales. In his lifetime, he saved and helped hundreds of churches. So you can see by this story, these churches need a lot of caring for. St James's has been very lucky because it's had its fair share of restorations in the past 70 years, from Ivor in 1954 and now the Friends in 2024. Unfortunately, I visit many churches and lots of them won't be this lucky. I can see over the next 20 years we are going to lose hundreds of these amazing buildings. I will continue to film and document them, and my goal is to one day restore a church myself and leave my own legacy, just like Ivor has.